My daughter looked me in the eye and said, "I can't believe you cheated on Mom." But I never did. For 3 years, my ex-wife let our kids believe I was the villain, just so she could look like the victim. Now the truth's out, and everything's falling apart. Let me just start this off by saying, I never thought I'd be one of those Reddit dads. The ones who come on here, typing through the fog of confusion, heartbreak, and pure what-the-hell energy, trying to piece together how their family fell apart while they were still standing in the middle of it. But here I am, because I just found out my kids think I cheated on their mom. And I didn't. I never did. Not even close. Let me back up. So my ex-wife and I split up about 3 years ago. No cheating, no police reports, no big blowout screaming matches in the driveway. It was more like death by 1,000 silences. You know? One day you look across the kitchen table, and it feels like you're sharing a home with a ghost who hates how you chew. We tried therapy. Twice. She stopped going the second time and told me, "It's not helping. You're still you." Fair enough, I guess. Anyway, we agreed on a peaceful divorce. We even did that thing where you try to be conscious co-parents, like we were in some Gwyneth Paltrow press release. We split custody of our son, 18 now, and daughter, 16. I moved into a smaller place nearby, so I could be close. I still showed up to soccer games, school plays, all of it. At first, it was okay. Not ideal, but the kids still came over, we still did movie nights. My daughter still called me dad in that goofy sing-song way that melted my heart. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. It was subtle at first, shorter replies to texts, canceled weekends. My son stopped calling back. My daughter started saying things like, "Mom said you'd say that," whenever I tried to explain something. I thought maybe it was just teenage hormones. Divorce guilt. Maybe I was projecting. Until last month. My daughter was over. She was acting weird the whole time, eyes glued to her phone, sighing dramatically every 5 seconds like I'd just asked her to eat a plate of nails. Then I said something harmless like, "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" And she just snapped. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "I still can't believe you cheated on Mom and lied about it." No wonder she left. My stomach dropped. Like, literally. I felt like someone had just cut the brakes on reality. I said, "What? What are you talking about?" She rolled her eyes. "Don't play dumb. We know. Mom told us." And just like that, years of silence, confusion, cold shoulders, it all clicked. The missing puzzle piece slammed into place so hard I almost laughed. I didn't cheat, but my ex told our kids that I did. After my daughter dropped that line, "Mom told us," I honestly didn't know what to say. I just sat there, mouth open, brain buffering like a cheap Wi-Fi signal. You know when something hits you so hard, your body goes cold before your mind even catches up? That was me. She saw my reaction and scoffed like I was faking confusion. Then she grabbed her hoodie and said, "Whatever, I knew you'd lie about it," and left. Just like that. Gone. No yelling. No confrontation. Just total shutdown. I sat on the couch for at least 40 minutes staring at the spot where she'd been sitting. My brain kept playing back the last few years like some awful montage. The divorce. The awkward birthdays. The weird looks. The way my son stopped hugging me. How I blamed myself for not connecting. Turns out, I wasn't crazy. I was just being quietly erased. So I did what every emotionally destroyed middle-aged guy does at 11 p.m. when his world flips upside down. I sent a politely unhinged text to my ex-wife. Something like, "Hey, just spoke with daughter. She said you told the kids I cheated on you. What the hell? Call me." She didn't answer. Shocker. Next morning, she finally replied. "I never told them that. Maybe they misunderstood. You know how emotional they are." "Oh, so we're gaslighting now?" Cute. I wasn't gonna let that slide, so I called her. She picked up on the second ring, probably hoping I'd just let it go. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just asked flat out, "Did you tell them I cheated on you?" She paused, long enough for me to know the answer. Then she hit me with, "I may have said things during the divorce that made it sound like that, but I never said it directly. I was upset. I was trying to help them understand why I had to leave." "Lady, come on," I said. "So instead of telling them the truth, that we grew apart, that we tried and failed, you let them believe I broke up our family because I was screwing around?" Silence. Then, I didn't want to be the one who ruined everything. That was her excuse. She didn't want to be the bad guy. So she just, handed me the villain hat and told the kids Daddy broke us? And it gets better. I reached out to my son later that week. Told him I needed to talk. He was hesitant, but agreed. We met at a diner. I could tell he was on guard. Like he was expecting me to launch into excuses or denials. I didn't. I just asked him what he thought happened between me and his mom. He shrugged and said, "She told us you were messaging some woman from work behind her back. That it went on for months." Now I really wanted to scream. There was no woman. No messages. No late night anything. Closest thing I had to a fair behavior was liking a Facebook photo of a coworker's new puppy. But the way he said it, like it was already set in stone. Like I was a liar trying to rewrite the past. That's when it hit me. My ex didn't just bend the truth. She repackaged it, gift-wrapped it in tears and victimhood, and handed it to our kids like a bedtime story. Daddy hurt me. That's why we're not a family anymore. And they believed her. Of course they did. She's their mom. So now I'm stuck. I'm the guy who didn't cheat, trying to prove a negative to two teenagers who've been fed a version of the story for years. You ever try to untangle someone else's lie when you weren't even there when it was told? It's like chasing smoke. I told my son, that never happened. I didn't cheat on your mom. Not even close. I can prove it. He didn't say anything, just stirred his soda and said, "I don't know what to believe anymore." Same, buddy. Same. All right. So here's the part that really makes my brain itch. After that talk with my son, I realized I couldn't just defend myself. I needed to give them the real story. Not the glossy heartbreak version their mom fed them. The actual, messy, boring truth. So here it is. We didn't fall apart because I was sneaking around. We fell apart because we became roommates. Quiet, tired, emotionally dried up roommates. There were no slammed doors or secret texts. Just years of coming home to silence, sitting across from each other at dinner, scrolling through our phones like strangers waiting for the bus. She stopped laughing at my dumb jokes. I stopped asking her how her day was. And we both knew it. Therapy didn't help. I begged her to keep trying. She said she felt numb and didn't see the point. Eventually, I said maybe we should separate, and she agreed. No fights. No drama. Just, okay. We told the kids it was mutual, that we still respected each other, that we just weren't working anymore. And for a while, it felt like we might actually pull off the mythical healthy divorce. Then she started rewriting the script. I started talking to a mutual friend recently, one of the few people who didn't pick a side when we split. She said, "Look, your ex kind of started telling people you cheated right after the divorce." She didn't say it directly, but it was implied. Apparently, she'd been doing this slow drip of implication, little hints, sad looks, cryptic comments like, "I wish he'd been honest with me." And people ate it up. Because let's be real, a cheating husband is a cleaner narrative than a slow, quiet, mutual emotional collapse. One makes her the victim. The other makes her just unhappy. But here's the kicker. I found an old notebook in a moving box. Her handwriting. She used to journal. I know I probably shouldn't have read it. But I did. One entry, written 2 months before we separated, said, "I know I want out. I just don't know how to explain it to the kids without them hating me." Boom. She'd made up her mind. Before we even talked about splitting. Before therapy round 2. Before she started painting me as the villain. She already knew she was going to leave. And she was already planning how to spin it. Part 4. Telling the kids the truth. I decided they deserved to know what really happened. But man, trying to undo a lie that's been soaking for 3 years? That's a different kind of heartbreak. So, how do you tell your kids that their mom lied to them? You don't. Not all at once, anyway. You have to chip away at it like ice on a windshield, slow, careful, hoping you don't crack the whole thing. I decided to talk to them separately. Thought it might help avoid that weird sibling defense mode, where one kid doubles down just because the other is watching. Started with my son. We met at the same diner, neutral ground, same corner booth. He looked tired, older than he should at 18. I brought a folder. I know, lame dad move. But I needed something concrete. Old therapy notes, timelines, emails. Not to prove my innocence, but to show that there was never a space in our marriage where cheating could have even fit. He flipped through it slowly, barely saying a word. Then he looked at me and asked, "Why didn't you ever tell us this before?" That one hurt. I said, "Because I thought your mom and I agreed not to make you pick sides. I thought we were doing this the adult way." He nodded. Quiet. Then he said something that damn near broke me. "I think I wanted it to be your fault. It made it easier." Yeah, that's the part nobody tells you about divorce. Your kids still need a bad guy, even when nobody threw the first punch. It gives them something to blame. and I was just the easier target. Then came the hard one. My daughter. She didn't want to come over, so I went to her school parking lot after she got out of a club meeting. Yes, I'm that dad now. I said, can we talk? Just 5 minutes. No pressure. She sat in the passenger seat with her arms folded, eyes glued to the windshield. I didn't bring papers this time. Just talked. Told her the truth. Everything. That her mom and I just weren't in love anymore. That we both hurt. That nobody cheated. That I would never do that to their family, to them. She didn't say much. But she listened. Really listened. When I finished, she finally looked at me and said, but why would she lie? I said, because sometimes people are scared of being the reason things fall apart. She nodded, then said, okay, just that. Quiet, but not cold. Like a little door cracked open. So yeah, it's not fixed. Not yet. But the truth's out now. And once it's out, it doesn't go back in. So, surprise, surprise, my ex didn't take it well. Apparently my daughter went home the night we talked and confronted her. Not in a dramatic movie way, but just a quiet, scary, why did you lie? Kind of way. Which, from my daughter, hits like a hammer. Next morning, I woke up to a novel of a text from my ex-wife. No greeting. No punctuation. Just an emotional landslide. How dare you twist things against me after everything I've done for those kids? You have no idea what it's like to carry the mental load for 18 years. I was trying to protect them from the pain of a broken home, and you just want to look like the good guy. Now you've made everything worse. Congratulations. Yes, she used zero punctuation. The true mark of panic texting. I didn't even respond. Because here's the thing, she wasn't angry that I lied. She was angry that I told the truth. The image she built, her as the heartbroken wife, me as the man who wrecked our family, was starting to fall apart. And instead of owning it, she doubled down. Classic move. And just like that, the silence began. Not from the kids, from her. No texts. No co-parenting check-ins. No passive-aggressive calendar updates. Just nothing. Which, honestly, was almost funny. She spent 3 years telling a story where I was the one who abandoned the family, and the second her version started to fall apart, she ghosted. Poetic, in a sad little way. But the fallout? That was real. The kids were confused. Angry. Not at me. Not fully. But just at the situation. At the years they lost to a lie. At the weird weight of realizing your parents are flawed, not just in little ways, but in deep, selfish ways. We started family therapy. Voluntarily. Just the 3 of us. It's awkward. Sometimes my daughter doesn't say a word the whole session. Sometimes my son looks like he wants to punch the air. But they keep showing up. And so do I. Because even if my marriage died 3 years ago, my relationship with them doesn't have to. Part 6. Rebuilding, slowly. The damage was deep, but not permanent. I'll tell you where things stand now, and what I've learned about lies, silence, and being the bad guy in someone else's story. So here we are, 3 years after the divorce. 2 months after the lie finally cracked open. And somehow, things are both heavier and lighter at the same time. I won't pretend everything's perfect now. It's not some movie where the kids run into my arms and we all cry under a soft piano soundtrack. There's no, I forgive you, that moment in the rain. But there is progress. Little things. My son texting me first, not just to ask for money or rides, but to send me a meme he thought I'd like. My daughter sitting next to me on the couch without flinching. Us ordering pizza and arguing over toppings like normal people. Laughter. Not forced. Just showing up again. And that's how it happens, I guess. Not in some grand gesture. Just in tiny, quiet choices to keep showing up. As for their mom, still quiet. Still pretending none of this happened. She hasn't apologized. Hasn't admitted anything beyond, maybe I misremembered how things went. She's rewriting her rewrite now. Adjusting the story again to avoid accountability. But here's the thing I've realized. She needed to be the victim because she didn't know how to be the person who ended a family. And I get that. It's easier to say, he broke us, than to say, I was unhappy, and I left. But the truth, the real truth, always finds a way out. My kids may not trust me fully yet, but now they know the truth lives somewhere between 2 stories. And they're old enough to see both sides. That's all I ever wanted. To be seen. Not as perfect. Not as blameless. Just as a dad who stayed. Who kept showing up. Even when someone else handed him the villain role and walked off stage. Thanks for reading. And if you're going through something like this, if someone's telling your story wrong, just know. You don't have to shout. Just keep standing in the truth. It'll echo eventually.